let's create a new fact. So the same thing as yesterday, where we created a new dimension. Okay, we'll create a new fact. So we'll go here and I will create another. Now, Jan, don't get confused. It says cube, but it's not a cube. So it's just an area that we'll work on, and we'll take a look at sales orders. Okay. Well, this will be a new section. Now, what we'll do is add a new fact. And when I say fact, this will be a new fact table on the data warehouse, right? Fact tables, remember. And it will also show up as a measure group in Excel. So like sales values, like geo transactions that we checked before. Okay, so it will form a new section, new measure group. Okay, let's add it. The fact name will be sales order. Okay, you can see if I select the name that already exists, it will give me an error. Okay, so it already exists in the collision, so I'll need to choose another name. So demo, click add. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing as we went through the first time. We'll edit it. So now we start from the beginning. Okay, so we'll select the source table. I already know this is sales line. Okay, and I'll just add this table. This table sales line contains all the documents on the sales order. Okay, if we look at that sales line table, I think I already have it on stage. Sales line, yeah, I do have it. If we take a look at those columns, actually we'll select it here. So we have a bunch of information here. Besides all the numbers, right, the amounts, we have document number, we have dimension set ID. Remember, this is these are the global dimensions, and some other information as well, item category, job number, location, and so on. Okay, basically lots of stuff here, lots of measures and so on. VAT product posting group. Okay, lots of information. Now, these are actually the lines from the document. If we focus on the document number, we'll see that each line in a document is one line on the stage table. Now, document 101.005 contains one line. 009 contains two lines. Then we have 11, we have three lines, and so on. Okay, so different lines. So we'll get that information. But not all the information is on the line of the document. Some of the information is in the header of the document. Okay, so what we'll do here is show related tables, and we see that the sales header table pops up. So we'll just add it. Now this is again from metadata. We'll add the table, and it will give me the conditions here. Now, again, we need to make sure that these are correct. Okay, I'll just go here. So number from, I'll add condition. So from sales header number is document number in sales line. So the same thing as we observed here, right? Sales line, document number. We will link it to the, sorry, wrong window. Okay, we will link it to the number in sales header. Okay, and the same for document type. The relations here are okay, and we'll use a left outer join. Now, technically speaking, we could use some other joins if necessary, right? This is also something that customer will tell you. How do we join those tables? We can use other SQL joins if necessary. We mostly used left outer join. Okay, the conditions are okay, and that's pretty much it. We can continue. So we have built a small model with 2 stage tables, which contains, again, information from sales orders. So the lines of the document, each specific line, and the header of the document. And we'll see which kind of fields, what kind of fields do we have available here. Okay, this is simple. We can also expand this model if necessary, you know, some other tables, but we'll not do that at this point. Good, so we'll go next. So now nothing is selected here, okay? So no fields are selected. So we'll select a couple of fields that will make sense later on. Okay, so what do we need? Let's keep it simple. We'll select a couple of dimensions and a couple of measures. So first the measures, okay, let's look at the measures from the sales line. We will need quantity, we'll need outstanding quantity, quantity to invoice, quantity ship. Let's just select those 4 and maybe also amount. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, we'll select amount as well. So we have amount, so this is the currency value, right? And we have the quantity. So these are also the measures that are most often used. So the amounts in any way, and then the quantity. Okay, and then we'll select some measures as well. Now I'll purposely make some double selections here, so you'll see that we have options here when building a model, and this is a pretty demanding task. That's why we have the project, the vanilla project, the out-of-the-box project that we have is already created, with all this specific, and you only need to add specific things to the project with customer request them. So we'll just take it slow and do some and add some dimensions. So let's say first will be location. So we have 2 location codes. Now, to go back to what we selected, so line and header, and location code will actually give us the location, but it can be 2 different locations, one from the header and one from the line. Now in this demo document, demo data, it doesn't really matter which one I choose, but just I wanted to show you this, that you have to be careful which one you select, because this will give you the location code from the sales line. If I take a look here, location code, right? These are for line, and if I go to sales header, okay, so location code from sales line, we selected from the sales line, that's fine. We'll delete
table, I think.
Sorry?
The one you had opened had a space between sales and header. But here, I don't know, I mean, that it may be
okay, that's a really good question, actually. Okay, so what we do in BI for Dynamics, and of course this is true for all data warehouse building, so you don't want spaces inside your SQL code, okay? Because then it becomes hard to program. So what we do usually in this kind of things, we when you see it without a space, don't worry, it's still the same field, but it's a little bit easier on the eye when you check the code, okay, the SQL code. So we don't have, sometimes we put aside spaces and some other things as well. But yeah, that's a really good question. So again, if I look at, this is a nice example, right? State GL entry, okay? And if I take a look how it is on the stage, it's G_L space entry. This would be a nightmare to write the code manually, okay? So that's why we just make it easier on the eye. without those. And it will be easier to, of course, to even search for it, right? If I would go here, okay, I know it's GL entry, but if I would go GL entry, we don't find anything, right? But if we go sorry, this is already added here. I'll do it here. Sorry, I'll go GL. It doesn't find anything, right? You need to remember that you have an underscore in between. But if we just type GL entry, it would find it. Okay. So we have location code. Let's just continue with what we have here. Not get too caught up in details for now. So we'll select some other dimensions, some that stand out maybe. From sales line, what do we have? What do we have? Transfer method. Why not? Okay, we have area. Yeah, that's a good one. Then we have let's see if we have an item here. Item. I think we don't have an item here because it's called differently. Now you need to know that as a little bit part of Navision to know that. If you look at sales line, I think the item is just number here. Okay, so we'll have a look at the number, and we'll add that. Okay, what else do we need to add? Okay, we'll click next. We have selected the dimensions and the measures that we want to add, and we'll just continue. So now we need to define those dimensions. As you see, selected dimension is empty now. Okay, and if we check from field, okay, we can add any dimensions if necessary here. Okay, now location code and area, yes, I can add it. Okay, I will add area from field just to form a simple dimension. Oh, excuse me, almost forgot. What is the most important dimension in BF Dynamics? Date. Yeah. So we need to have that posting date as well. And we'll select another date as well, like order date. So or shipment date. Okay, we'll use shipment date. So it's a different. Posting date is where the document was posted, and shipment date is where the items that you have sold needs to be shipped out. Okay, or will be shipped out. Good. So we'll use those two and continue. Okay, this is better. Now, another element to everything that we did so far. We have an exclamation point here. Our application already knows that this date is of a format date. Let's just see date. It's a date format. So we know it's date. And our application will know that we already have a date dimension defined somewhere. And it will also say dimension date is already used on the model. So somewhere on the model. It doesn't have to be in this specific tag that we're creating right now, but on the whole project. Okay. And this is another element to it. So there are things. So there's a dimension. There's a thing that is called role-playing dimension. Okay, role-playing dimension. And what it does basically, it's taking its properties, in this case, date, okay? You see here down, available cube dimension, its date, due date, and so on. Every one of these dimensions were already created, okay? So we'll just use a date dimension as a role-playing dimension. This means, what does it mean? It means that even though we have the same name here, okay, we will not create another table on the SQL with the name date, but we'll just use an existing one. Okay, this is dim date, and you see here, if I go here again, date dimension is already used, available cube dimension date. So when we use that name, we will not create a new dimension, but only create something that is called role-playing dimension. So we will use the same dimension on a different fact. Okay, good. So when we have this defined, we'll click add. Now, we have a shipment date. And if we check this again, we see that we don't have a shipment date available here. We have date, due date, purchase document date, sales document date, and ship. Oh, we already have a shipment date. Never mind. Okay, we'll select a different one. Okay, bad example. Order date. Let's go with date. Order date. Okay, so this will become a little bit more clear. So order date. So again, order date is not selected here. Okay, so we will leave the name as it is, and as we add it as an order date, a new order date table will be created. Okay, so these are the difference between role-playing dimension. So this one will use the dimension that is already created, and order date will be a new dimension. Okay, this is something from field. Date will come from field. Now we'll skip to related table. Now, even though we have selected the location code here and we can add it, right? Location code. This means that a new dimension location code will be created. But the best practice in BF in data warehouse, you need to avoid the duplication of data, because that means more disk space is needed. That means the processing times are longer, and everything that comes with it. So we will actually not create a location code new dimension, but we'll go here from related table. Now I've told you from related table, from metadata, we already know that this location dimension, location table is somehow related to the sales line table that we have selected. Okay, and it gives us that connection. Again, location, another dimension object has the location name. So we cannot use this one and click add, because we cannot create a new dimension with the same name. We can say location code, the same thing, same thing as we did here, and it would allow us to add a new dimension, right? But this will again make duplicates in data warehouse. So we will have two same dimensions, but with different name. So what do we do here? We take the location and we'll say, okay, we'll do this location. Sorry. Okay. It was like that before. Sorry. So new dimension. So what we'll do is take a existing dimension, and we will BF Dynamics will try to match the name. Okay. And it will give you the dimension. And it will also give you the connection and the relation between those two tables, because we know they're related from metadata. So location, dimension, location code will be linked to location code on sales line. Okay, and when we have that connection, so we will use the existing dimension, we'll just click add. And we can do the same thing through everything that is offered here. Okay. We can use currency. I know currency already exists, so we'll use an existing currency. So this is the type of things that you will be doing if you'll create a new fact. It will be rare that a dimension is not yet created. But if it's not created, then just use a new dimension, and we'll use a specific dimension here like area, which is not created yet. Right? We don't have an area dimension yet, so we'll just use a new dimension. Now, again, we have dimension to fact relation already here, and we'll click add. So now we have another dimension that is selected to the project. Now we have area, currency, date, location date, and order date. Okay. What we then, and notice here we haven't selected item, which will be, mostly a dimension that would be used in this kind of fact. And that's only because I will try to utilize the custom section as well, just trying to show you. Okay, in the custom, we will add a new dimension. And we know the item is already created. So we search for item and we'll just add it. Now the problem here is because it's a custom dimension, we don't have the dimension to fact relation already because this doesn't come from metadata or anywhere. This could be anything, okay? And we need to do this manually. So item, we need to choose which field, okay? Add it and say equals. And on sales line, we have established that the item number is the field for item number is actually called number. Okay. And we'll use that. So sales line number and just add it to the expression. And then we'll click add. Okay. So what is the difference here? Now, again, we don't get that information from metadata. I'm pretty sure these tables are related. So if I go back from related table, okay, we see the item measure here, okay? And we already have, so we'll use a existing dimension and item. Now, this is important. I chose this example for a reason. Here is an example of a mistake in metadata. So item number, so this is what we get from metadata. Item number is connected to bill of materials item number, which in this case is not correct. So this is an example on where you need to be careful about the relation that you get from metadata. Okay, so in theory, of course, we could see this and say this is not correct. We'll add a new condition, item number, and then from sales line, number, okay, and remove the first condition because it's not correct, okay, and then we would click add. Good, we have the item dimension here. Okay, what I'll do is deselect now because I wanted to show you we can do exactly the same thing from custom. And you will use this custom feature if there is no relation in the metadata, because here only the related tables will show up. If there's no relation in metadata, it wouldn't show up. But as a Navision consultant, and if one of the customers will tell you, okay, there is a clear relation between those tables, but it's just not showing up in metadata, you would use a custom dimension. Okay, you would either build a new one or use an existing one. Okay, item. Okay, and that's it, right? Item number to sales line number, and let's add this one. Let's stop for a moment. Let me just ask you if this is clear or not. Anybody has any questions?
I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
Good. Alex? Yep. Should we add anything else? Yeah, salesperson purchaser, that would become, so we can use that as well. So, but we'll change the name a little bit here. We'll not use a salesperson purchaser, but because we're dealing with sales orders, but we have the information on the table salesperson purchaser because the same table is used for both sides, for the purchaser, for the purchase people, and for the sales people. Okay, so what we'll do here is create an existing dimension again, purchaser, but what we'll do is just name it as a salesperson, and we'll use an existing dimension with a different name. But for us on the reports, it will make sense that only salesperson shows up because we have no purchasers here in this instance. Let's do the salesperson. Let's add, and I think that's enough for dimensions. Let's go next. Now we're at measures. Okay, we have selected some measures. Okay, we have quantity, we have outstanding quantity, quantity to invoice, quantity to ship, and sales amount. Now, we can use those names, no problem, but we could also change it here. So quantity, we can also use instead of QTY. Okay, we can also use that. So this is a name that will show up here. Amount. Now this is a tricky one. So amount is basically the amount field is in a lot of tables in Navision. So if we only leave amount here, we won't actually know what this amount is. Okay, so let's say that this is sales line amount, and this way we'll know exactly where it comes from and what it is. Okay, because amount is also on the purchase line. It's also on other tables. Okay, and this is just an example. You probably won't use this. I just want to, I just want to guide you through this again. Okay, so we have some, and again, quantity comes in many different tables. So we'll use sales line quantity. So we know exactly where is it coming from. Okay, actually, we'll do this for everything. So we'll have a clear understanding. Good, we'll do that. Now, amount, good, that's it. Data warehouse measure. Should we do any data warehouse measures? We could. We're a little bit short on time, so we won't. But let's just assume that, yeah, let's make just an example. So negative sales line amount. Again, just an example, okay? And we'll use the base measure sales line amount in the SQL expression. Sales line amount, and we'll give it a minus, okay? I think this should be without spaces, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how the code is generated. Okay, so this is a data warehouse measure. Okay, a DAX measure, it can be, what can it be? Okay, one example. Let's say, let's do something. Okay, so sales line amount, we'll just do a simple measure here. Good, so we'll take the, okay, one important distinction here. So when we create a data warehouse measures, okay, with the expression, we will take the amount, the table and field name from Navision, okay? These two, sales line, amount. But on DAX, we will use a names of the measures, and these are the names that we have defined here. So that's another distinction here. So in data warehouse measures, we would use, fields that are coming directly from Navision. And in DAX, we will use the names that we define on the measures. So not the field itself, so sales line amount, but we will use this one. Oh, okay. So we'll use this one, and we'll just do a measure here. Doesn't really matter. So we'll do a DAX, sales line amount DAX, so we'll know what it is. And it should come up as the same number. I just wanted to show you what we're doing here. DAX expression would be sales line amount. Sorry. Just a second here. Okay, let's move forward, and this will basically be the same thing. Okay, we'll just use sales line amount, but we'll calculate it in DAX. Okay, this will DAX sales line amount equals sales line amount. Simple example, so you'll understand. Good. So what we can do from here is also use that amount to extend it a couple of times. Year to date, period over period, year over year, last periods, rolling, month to date, week to date, week over week, month over month, and that will be enough. Okay, since we did everything, let's do the last one thing. Okay, so sales line amount in the time intelligence section. Okay, we did a simple data warehouse measure, we did DAX measure, and that's it. So we have created a new fact. What we'll do now is update, which means that this will be created. The same thing as on dimensions yesterday, it will be, of course, created and deployed and processed and everything. So don't worry about this one. It only asks, so if I only create a data warehouse measure and a DAX measures, I will do a partial load, but I will do a full load now. So we'll do all stage, data warehouse, and analysis. Okay. Okay, so this is done. And what I'll do now is go into Excel reports. Okay, new Excel sheet. I will use a existing connection. And let's see if our new fact has shown up. So this should be sales orders demo. Okay, let's see. Sales. Yep, sales order demo. There we go. Okay, so we have the amount, okay? And now you see that it doesn't matter where you write those or where you select those measures, it will all come under the same sales. So the measure group, okay? We have amount. Now the negative sales line amount should be in negative, right? And also the DAX sales amount should be the same because we have used this field, right? So that's simple. Then we have outstanding amount and so on. And you can already see, the last periods, all the time intelligence was created here. The last period for sales line amount, for month over month, and so on. So everything was created. Now we have created some measure, and we have created some dimensions. Now, this is important. So remember the area code that we have added from field, I think. Let's go to manage dimensions. Okay, we have added from table. What do we have from field? Yeah, just date. Okay, area, we get it from table. Now this was a new dimension, okay? And when new dimension is created, we only have one simple attribute to it, which is code, area code. Now, remember when we used the existing dimensions. So the existing dimensions are already built up to a point that it's really, really usable. So multiple attributes are already in there and everything. So with new dimension, we only get code. And then if we check the maybe item dimension or location dimension, we already have everything that is otherwise defined on location. Let me show you what I mean. So we'll go to manage dimension and we'll search for location. Okay. We'll click edit. Next. Next. And you'll see we have a couple of attributes already here. So we have location code, location name, use as in transit, and we have a custom attribute, which is basically location code plus location name. So when in our project, when we used the existing dimensions already, we got all these attributes inside, like you can see here, right? Location, location code, location name, use in transit. So that's also one of the benefits of using the already existing dimensions. Okay, location, we have that. Now we have the order date. And we have the salesperson. Okay. Now, if I focus on the date, we should have two of them. We should have date. So this is the posting date, but it will show up as date. And it will also take all the properties, right, from the date dimension. So let's do this, 2020. So we can use the year, month, date hierarchy. We can use the calendar. And because we use that existing dimension, or now this is called a role-playing dimension, we can use everything that is already available on the date dimension. Okay, and that pretty much concludes our meeting for today. So now we have built a new project. You have seen that it's not that complicated, right? So it was a little bit challenging at first because you didn't see exactly what the big picture is. But now that we have created a new one, you can see it's not a big deal. In terms of BI4 Dynamics, okay, this is just technically speaking. Now, if we are talking about the content, the complexity of it, you have to remember that Navision has, I don't know, 1,700 tables, and we use a lot of them. And our content is really rich. We have 1,000 plus measures and I don't know how many dimensions, and this is already built into the project. And when you see all of this, it didn't come as easy as I did this, in a couple of minutes. This is years of work and, bugs and fixes and so on. So we get this result. It was really hard work. So don't confuse it if it looks simple, that it's easy on the inside, right? It's a lot of work behind this. And that's why we pretty much have the best out of the box product in the world. So we have so much content that the customers rarely need new measures or anything at all. So 80% of the customer will just say, that's fine. That's more than plenty for us. The other 20% will say, okay, that's okay. It's basically everything that we need. But on item dimension, we only need, one simple attribute that is missing for us. Maybe, weight, if that's really important for them, right? Gross weight or net weight or something. And then you just come here in the item dimension, you click those fields, it's already here, go next, update the specific dimension, and the customer has it in a couple of minutes. And it has it on top of everything else that we already have here, which is more than enough for, like I said, a lot of our customers, the vast majority of our customers. Okay, any questions?